Hello, welcome to No Veto Video. I'm Katherine.
And I'm Carson. And this time on No Veto Video, we're going to tell you all about Blood Moon from 2014. Directed by Jeremy Wooding and starring George Blagden, Sean Dooley, Corey Johnson, Amber Jean Rowan, and many others.
A handful of others.
A handful.
So Blood Moon. In a typical Western setting, typical Western characters are typically stranded at a stagecoach stop where they are less typically hunted by a werewolf.
Pretty good synopsis.
Come at me, Blood Moon.
I saw this movie, like many of them I've picked for No Veto Video over the years, a couple of years ago, and I thought it did a few novel things.
Fear not, viewer. We will explore what Carson felt was novel.
But I think after watching it again, we can probably both agree that it didn't actually nail any of the things it was trying to do.
I think that's a very charitable description. Where shall we begin?
Well, you gave me some looks, so why don't you...
Well, I think I am going to start off the bat being very clear. I think this is a bad movie. I don't think this rises to art. But, yeah, so I think this is a bad movie, and I don't think there's going to be a lot to dig into about interesting questions it's asking or interesting things it's wanting to explore. So I don't have a lot to start with, but you felt like it was doing something novel, so...
Yeah, I've never seen another movie where a group of people are in the Old West, trapped in a house while there's traditional monsters.
Yeah, we haven't seen Hateful Eight, by the way, just for clarification.
And that is on my list to watch eventually, but I have not seen that. However, if you want people trapped in a location with suspense and werewolves, and this movie has no suspense, so if you want suspense and werewolves, watch Howling 4 instead. This is not a veto override for later.
There is one element of interpersonal intrigue that they do manage to carry off, but it matters not at all.
Yeah.
It carries no weight at all in the plot.
Yes.
So there's that.
So yeah, a number of other movies did what this movie was trying to do better. I think we can both agree on.
So now the most interesting thing for me about this film, I only discovered later as I was sort of digging into it, because I put together the little thing that we read. And that is that pretty much everybody, from the writer and director to almost all of the actors, with one exception, are all Britons. Mm-hmm. So this is, and it was shot in Kent. So knowing that, what I had, the set dressers and the set designers, actually I feel like, well done. I did not know that this was England. This looked like anywhere USA, the West. I believed that it was being shot in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And there was a point at which the town street, as the stagecoach pulls in, that's just mud. It's just mud. And that was, from history as accounting tells us that's how it was. It was, mud that would pull your shoes off. That's what living in the Old West was about. So well done. You were hitting all the stereotypical notes, but my sense is that that's what you were being directed to do, and you succeeded. So there is that.
Yeah.
But then I begin to think to myself, oh, so this is what England thinks a Western is. Because there's a lot of things that are just, like, not quite pitched right. Like, the dialogue is, like, cliche. It's like cliche, 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 cliche. But the way in which they're deployed is just not quite right. Like, it's just not... It's Uncanny Valley. It's Uncanny Valley with people. Yeah.
I think my biggest problem with the movie overall was, with one exception, the characters were very one-dimensional. And more than that, many of them, on top of being pretty much one-dimensional, had no development through the entire movie. There was no depth, there was no change, there was no learning, there was no evolution of the characters.
Yeah, so for me, my favorite, like, one-dimensional character was, like, nominally the protagonist of the work, the mysterious gunslinger guy. When we meet him shooting his horse, I think it's fair to say what happens in the first, like, minute of the film.
Well,
and,
that's
like,
not really plot related.
No, as it turns out. But, but it's, like, a really, like, yar, I'm a manly Western man, I put down my horse. Anyway, and then, like, from there, he became, like, almost an object of humor for me, because he was so trying to rock the, like, man with no name kind of motif. But, like his recurring joke, which matters not at all, because it never really, like, where are you from?
You've never heard of it.
New York City? Oh, and then later I was like, London? Like, you're...
Yeah.
Actually, the actor in question is from Yorkshire. But, like, come on. Like, that's such a lame... It's such a lame thing to do.
Yeah, well...
And especially to do it more than once.
When we were watching it, I made the comment of he was a hipster before being a hipster was cool. Right. With the, I'd tell you, but you'd never heard of it.
Yeah. Just lame is all it... It didn't... So it was clearly a line that was designed to give this guy, like, an ambience of, you know, power and reserve, a little wry humor, but mystery, and...
Yeah.
It didn't do any of that. It made him ridiculous. And every step along the way, it was sort of like that. Yeah.
I mean, coupled with some of the lore about another character, or maybe the same character, it's hard to say, that people kept telling throughout the movie, maybe it was supposed to lend credence to that and make you think he was that character. But there would have been other ways to do that if that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
I've seen B movies that pulled off that effect. This one didn't, if that's what they were going for, and I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, like, so this film is unrated, and I don't know if that means because it was released, like, direct-to-video or, like, direct-to-streaming, or if it's, you know, different wherever it got distributed, but, like... Yeah. There was a kind of... We're not really trying hard at this kind of feel to the film.
Yeah. I can see that. Like the MST3K episode where they said they just didn't care.
Maybe. I mean, I think this might have benefited from a sort of laugh tracks treatment. And that's not a good sign. By the way, if you hear extra noise on the tape today, it's because the air conditioner at our hacienda is out, and we have the windows open. So
some more street noise and insects and other noises are filtering in.
All right. Well, I don't have a whole lot more to... there's not much to say about this film, except to say, like... As per usual, when you don't know what else to do or how else to make someone scary or bad, you can let them be an attempted rapist. And it's such a trope. It's such a trope for this genre. and like it's another example for me of like, did you have thoughts? Did you have ideas? Did you have wisdom to bring into it?
So, what did you think about the subplot with the other two more minor characters? We didn't touch on that at all.
Why bother?
That was kind of my...
Like, what was the purpose there?
They
were out there in the woods to be exposition. Then they show up late to the party, and then what? Why bother? Why bother?
Yeah. Well, and only the one even needed to show up late to the party. They could have just introduced them at the very beginning and not followed them at all, and then they show up. Or, as you said, they're late to the party, why bother? When I first saw the movie, I thought we were going to be following them, and I think that may have turned out to be the more interesting story if we had.
Yeah. There was another way to do this from almost any angle. You could have done a different story.
Yeah.
And it would have been a little more interesting than the one we ended up with.
So, as foreign takes on Western U.S. go, you're saying the Italians do it better than the Brits?
I'm saying just about everybody does it better. Actually, I'm saying the Britons do it better than the Brits. I mean, we're almost skipping ahead to overrides, but like...
Well, don't mention mine.
Well, no, but I'm going to say, for example, though it didn't do great, it was generally considered a successful film, but 3:10 to Yuma, the remake with the Queen's subjects, Christian Bale and Russell Crowe, that's a Western. Like, it's not the Britons are incapable of delivering convincing or meaningful Western U.S. like acting. I mean, if for nothing else, like, for the most part, everybody nailed their accents.
That's true.
Like, to a surprising degree.
That's true.
So, like, okay, let's just put some better words in their mouths.
And maybe some emotion. And,
yeah, then I have an idea about... There was this shot that the director used over and over again, maybe the cinematographer. They're using a handheld cam shooting up from the floor onto like a balcony where people would occasionally come by, but sometimes it was just shooting up into the balcony to shoot up into the balcony. It was, and then the handheld was kind of a little wobbly. Yeah. There was a lot that wasn't terribly successful about this film.
Yeah, and handhelds really only work well for found footage.
No, I mean, handhelds are fine for, like, if all of our characters are running along. And,
that's true.
They can really bring you a sense of, like, being there. I don't mind a handheld. I just think it needs to be deployed at the time that you want to deploy it. I don't understand what that shot was trying to convey to us at all.
I'm not sure either. And they didn't really even use the second floor a whole lot. So, why keep showing it if you're not going to...
I don't know. But, like, the prudish people are extra prudish, and the licentious people are extra... Like, everyone's very one-dimensional. Everybody's... like, as soon as you meet them, you kind of know where their arc's gonna go. Like, there aren't any surprising... Even the deaths are pretty... unsurprising. Like, you kind of know when people are about to buy it, because it's kind of phoned in. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess in that way it was more predictable than a lot of the teen slasher movies, which there is an actual formula for that. So, yeah, you're right. You could definitely tell early on who was going to die, and in some cases, even the order.
Very true. Very true. All right. So those are our thoughts, brief as they may be, on the work of Blood Moon. If you've seen this thing, if you have differences of opinion, definitely come and find us. You can make comments down below this video. You can make comments on our website, novetovideo.com. You can make suggestions. Like, if you want to play along with Veto Override, you should feel free to do that. We will happily respond to each and every one.
Mm-hmm. So far, we've responded to 100% of the questions and comments. That brings us to the point of the show where we tell you our override recommendations. Keeping with the theme of Veto, we have override recommendations that we suggest you watch instead of this movie, or sometimes in addition to this movie if you liked some quality of it. Why don't you go first?
As may come as no surprise to you guys, these are recommendations to be made in place of this film. Do not see this movie unless you already have. Watch something else instead. I am going to recommend the Dollars trilogy for sort of what an outsider's look at the American West is. So any of those, they star Clint Eastwood. It catapulted him into fame. He'd already been, kind of working and famous, but this cemented his career. And then if I may be, I'm pushing it with a trilogy already, I understand, but I'm going to say one more, and that's Bunraku, and another sort of, it uses some of the same tropes as the Western. It's got the mysterious stranger, it's got, the gunslinger kid, but the way it sort of puts things together in this very stylized sort of way, and definitely also has that outsider's take on a genre. I think any of those 4 films are a better way to spend some time than watching Blood Moon.
My override for the week is Werewolf the Beast Among Us, which was also set in the past, slightly different era, different location, but it follows a group of werewolf hunters who the dynamic's a lot different.
Wait. Is there a werewolf among them?
There might be. Why? What did I say?
The subtitle was The Beast Among Us.
Yes.
Anyway.
I wanted to make sure I didn't say Werewolf the Werewolf Among Us, because that's not the title. No. Don't want to steer them wrong. But follows a group of werewolf hunters, and their dynamic is much different than the dynamic of the group in this movie. But the acting is much better. Also has a higher score on both IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, by about 20% higher.
My God.
So it's got that going for it. Not an override pick. I'm only sticking to the one this time, but since I mentioned it earlier, I just want to mention it again. Howling 4. Group of people in an isolated castle with a werewolf prowling around, and they don't know who the werewolf is. So.
I was going to recommend one more too. I'm a super cheater. I was also going to recommend the made-for-TV movie, the adaptation of Tony Hillerman's novel Skinwalker.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of the Jolie Porn, I can't remember the other guy's name. It's a series of detective novels, but stars Wes Studi and a whole bunch of other folk. By the way, are Native American in this film? Japanese actress.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just kind of where we are. Anyway.
When you mentioned Bunraku, it made me think of, and I can't remember the name of it, The Good, the Bad, and the...
Weird.
The Good, the Bad, and the Weird would have been a interesting pick in place of this as well.
I was also thinking Kung Fu Hustle. So, like...
You have plenty of movies to choose from.
A vast array of movies to choose from.
You have her 2 official overrides, and my official override, and then a few other suggestions we threw out. Watch any of those instead.
Anything else. Alright. So next time on No Veto Video, fingers crossed, hopefully a slightly better pick. It's actually an Oscar-nominated film. We're going to watch Song of the Sea, the Irish animation, from the same studio who did Book of Kells. And that's available right now on Netflix, so check that out. Mm-hmm. And so there we go.
So again, thank you for watching, and please subscribe down below. And until next time,
Bye.
bye.